Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Hello. Thank you very much for having me by the seaside. I never get to go to the seaside. It's really nice. And I think some of the things I'm about to talk about might resonate with Viv. But I might be doing it from the other side. So yes, I should explain who I am. I am Emily Scoggins, but a lot of people know me as that girl with the blonde hair at gigs. Somebody came up to me the other day at a gig and said, "Oh, you're going to sign them? You're going to sign them?" I was like, "What?" They said, "Oh, you work for a label. What label do you work for?" "I don't work for a label. I make burgers." Yeah, usually I'm to be found of an evening out at a gig. Yeah, a bit of an Instagram addict, in case you hadn't noticed. But Reef has asked me to talk a little bit about how I've got to burger making, amongst other things. So I will start from the top, I guess. When I was 15, a computer told me what to do, so I did it. Did anybody else have this in careers? Yeah, you had this, right? So our careers office had a ton of computers, actually, and this was like 1994. The careers advisor was married to the deputy head. That's how she had so many computers. I've only realised since. So there we all were, tapping the answers to 80 questions into a computer, and the printer in the corner of the room came out with what you should be when you grew up. Now, number 1 was advertising account executive. Number 2 was radio presenter. Number 3 was TV presenter. I want to know how they knew I had a good face for radio. There was no webcam on it even, so we'll never know. But nonetheless, advertising account executive sounded quite interesting to me. And read about it. It was the marriage between business and art. It wasn't art for art's sake, which really appealed to me. I thought, yeah, I'll do that. So, bearing in mind I was 15, took me a little while. Chose my A-levels according to it, chose my degree, which was communications. Lived on Hunt House Road in Sheffield. That's a bloody steep hill. And if anyone went to Sheffield, you'll know that leaving the house when it's icy, not really an option. Watching Jeremy Kyle was more my option. So did that. Also had a stint in North Texas at university there near Dallas. I should have used a picture of Dallas. Why didn't I use a picture of Dallas? It's so much more, sunny. And I did some work experience. I went down to London, for 2 weeks to work in the post room at a large agency which was called Bates Dorland at the time. I got on with them really well. We had a bit of a love-in. I ended up staying for 10 weeks, and that meant sleeping on 10 different people's sofas because I just moved into a different colleague's living room each week. And then I had to go back to university and do my dissertation and do all the applications that come with wanting to work at an ad agency. There were about 700 applications for every job, I found out afterwards. So I'm glad I didn't know that before I started. Jeez. But yeah, so I did all that. Great. So there I was, working away in advertising. And then I found out something. Over the 3 years that I worked in an agency, clients can be a bit shit. I found this out in a couple of ways. I found this out because you could work until 1 o'clock in the morning on something, and then the next day the client changed the brief, and the client not explain why they're changing the brief, and not apologise for changing the brief. For an advertiser that won't be named, who did 17 routes on a brand campaign once, and I will never forgive them. I don't think we ever actually made any work. But the thing that really was the nail in the coffin for me was I had a couple of clients. One of them asked for her fruit to be cut up a particular way in the meeting room rather than biscuits. So between her and her colleague, who I sat at the end of a really long corridor with parquet floors, I could hear her stilettos coming down the corridor, and it just terrified me. And I thought, I've just spent all these years of my life trying to get into something, and I've fallen out of love with it, and I don't want to do this anymore. Then I found myself sitting in an interview opposite this gentleman, actually. Luckily enough for me, I had been quite gobby at a party 2 years prior. It was a Radio Advertising Bureau party, an industry party. And apparently, I didn't even remember meeting this guy. This is Chris McDonald, who runs McCann now from New York. But at the time, he was interviewing on behalf of one of his clients. He said, "You were gobby to me at a party 2 years ago. I saw your name on the interview list. I thought, if it's her, she's got the job. We need someone like that." So he said, "I like you, you've got the job." I said, "What is the job?" He said, "I can't tell you." "Chris, what?" So it turned out that the job was at the Sunday Times, and it was to start a new arts and entertainment monthly. It was on DVD because penetration of broadband wasn't enough to deliver it all that way. So it was a cover mount. Yay, cover mounts. And on my first day, I got told, if you fuck up, you're fired. So welcome to newspapers. I survived 4 years. I don't know quite how I survived 4 years, but I did. And it really toughened me up. Newspapers will do that. I've now been a client for much longer than I was ever an account man. So I spent time at the Beeb, at the Sunday Times, as I said, Vodafone, Sainsbury's is missing off there, actually. I have found myself at Macca's, where I make burgers. It is true. I make ads about burgers. I do a bit of burger inventing, it's true. If you've got any ideas, do let me know. This is Brighton, right? That'll be vegan. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. I'll try. But yeah, so because I've been agency side and then I was client side, I think there are some things that I learned along the way that might be useful to you. 5 things. Okay. Number 1, I'd never ask anyone to do anything I wouldn't be prepared to do myself. So now, bearing in mind I was often in the office till 1 a.m., that doesn't say an awful lot. But I would never ask anyone to cut my sodding fruit for me. I can tell you that much. Number 2 is to respect the creative imperative. The people that you are briefing to solve the problem for you are solving that problem from inside themselves. Do not trample all over that. You know, I think it's really important to respect the creative work that you get presented with. Also, actually, we've all got a little bit of creativity within ourselves, and I think it's a good idea to kind of feed it. If anybody says they're not creative, by the way, I would just say, have you ever told a lie? Because if you've told a lie, you're creative. You've come up with an answer out of somewhere, so you are creative. But yeah, definitely do respect the creative. Number 3, these are chaffinches. This is tenuous. Be clear. There's a lot of chaff in the world. There's a lot of chaff, especially those of us who are connected to social media all the time. And, you know, there's a lot going on. And to get the best work out, you've got to kind of put together a clear brief, I think, for somebody to answer. So be clear. The next one is to hack your work life until it works for you, right? So if your digital agency comes up with a fabulous idea, they really want to work, you really want it to work, you've got no budget for it. Somehow find that budget, squirrel it away somewhere, or cut it a different way so that you are nicking it from other bits. Nick it from a colleague who hasn't used up all their budget on something else. Just find ways around problems like that, because your digital agency, I think, will really appreciate that you've done that. It doesn't have to be a digital agency, actually. It could be anybody you work with. But they'll appreciate that you appreciate good work and want to make it happen. And they'll be less hacked off when you tell them you don't like their print ad coming up. And the 5th one is to really know your business. Really knowing your business inside out might well mean that you've got a little bit of information to impart that is the match that lights a flame. So you wouldn't believe how much I know about toasting different bread types. Far more than I ever thought or wanted to know, quite frankly, about the equipment we use at Macca's and stuff. But one day, it might really come in useful to be, a spark for a creative idea. So I would really urge anybody to really know their business inside and out. I said 5, didn't I? Yeah, I don't like 5s. 8 is my favourite number. Let's do 8. Yeah, let's do 8. It all goes a little bit soppy from here, really. 6, play nicely. Now, something I've learned is that sometimes I have to play mum to all of my different agencies. So I work with a big old-fashioned, big old agency. I shouldn't call them that, should I? I should say that they're an established network of global, agency. And I work with a digital agency, and I work with a media agency, and I work with a below-the-line agency who do our stuff in store. And do you know what? They come up with the best stuff when they work together. And leave your bloody egos at the door, quite frankly. To get the best work, you really need to work together. And sometimes I feel like I have to do play dates and get them together. It's weird. I wrote my dissertation on that 14 years ago. If I'd have known that, at the age of 34, I would still be living this every day, I've been very surprised, quite upset. But yeah, getting people to play nicely is really important. The next one, number 7, is to have a life. It's really easy to work really late all the time and not do other stuff. And other stuff is really, really, really important. And other stuff might be, it could be anything. If you're blonde, try brunette. If you're brunette, try blonde. Read books. Go to an exhibition that you think you're going to hate. In fact, especially, ones that you think you're going to hate. Do stuff that's out of the ordinary for you. I talked to my mum about this. She said, oh, God, Em, I've never even been tipsy. My mum's teetotal, right? And I said, no, Mum, it's not about, like, going wild and skydiving or diving with sharks or anything. It's talking to the old lady next to you on the bus or, just doing changing the channel, just doing things that aren't what you would normally do. It just increases your frame of reference. It increases your chances of being able to contextualize when somebody brings you a new creative idea. I think it's really important. And it makes life interesting, quite frankly. And the last one, I'm going to get really soppy, so forgive me. But the last one is fall in love, right? With anything. Not talking about a person, necessarily. Fall in love. Do it deeply. So I'm really into music, and live music in particular. I could quote Factory Records catalogue numbers at the age of 13. I am that sad. And I went to my first gig, 10th of April, 1992. It's the Charlatans at the Nottingham Royal Centre. I've seen 179 bands this year so far. Actually, 181, because I was out last night. They race, Dry the River, go and see them. And I think it's really important to love something and know something really deeply, because as well as breadth of experience, I think you need depth of experience, and I think it makes you feel alive. When I've spent a crappy day, or a great day, but at the coal face of burgers, which is the worst metaphor I think I've ever come up with, I know that I can, that night, be in a dark room with a bar at one end and a band on the other, and I feel alive. It's where I'm happiest. And I think you've got to spend some time feeling alive if you're to do your best at work or anywhere else, quite frankly. So find something to fall in love with. Fall in love. So, all of those, run down. Yeah, never ask anyone to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself. Respect that you're answering, respect those that are answering your brief, and try feeding your own creative soul. Not necessarily with burgers, but... Number 3, be clear. Number 4 is hack your life until it works for you. Number 5, know your business inside and out. Number 6, encourage everyone to play nicely, because collaboration will get you furthest. Number 7 is to have a life. And number 8 is to fall in love with something, anything, but fall in love. I hope that resonates, or part of it resonates with some of you. You can find me there if you want to chat, or go to a gig anytime. Give me a call, we'll go out. But yeah, I hope even if you're not in that kind of client-agency relationship, that there's part of that resonates with maybe some work you do, or some work you'd like to do in the future. Thank you very much for having me by the seaside.